Hello, welcome to my 1/8 scale Bandai Jaguar XKE model buildup part 2, or part 3 if you consider the engine test. But anyway, we're going with part 2. Now I've gone on and gone through the steps of putting the gear case on, and of course making the gears run, making sure they all mesh. I covered that in my engine test. But now we put on the cylinder head cover and the valve covers. And then the intake is added, the two pieces, the distributor, and then the carburetor heads. And then this piece here, it's not the starter, might be an oil filter. Excuse me. And then the coil goes on to this bracket, and the bracket goes on to the front of the valve cover. And then the pulley halves go together. There's also a water pump that gets glued on here, and a front crankcase cover that goes on just before you put the water pump on, this piece 17 here. And then of course, like I mentioned, the pulley halves. Then an alternator, which this part is actually wider and shorter this way than what is shown. Just give you an idea here when I swing the motor around. So here's the piece that they're talking about. Here's the coil. And then they talk about the exhaust pipes. Now the weird thing is there's no locator pins for any of these parts, except back here is a notch for the dipstick locator tab. They don't show that the exhaust pipe also has one as well. So that goes on there like that. See if I can get a better zoom of that there, a better clear picture. And then make sure that you slide this piece all the way up to the line like I mentioned here. And the best thing to do is to take your exhaust pipes and make sure that they mesh up with this. So let me show you that, what I'm talking about. Take this piece, which is called out in step 38, part 5, and make sure that when you put them on there, of course I'm doing this one-handed, but make sure that they mesh up, which they do. If you don't, like if you get these too close together, the spacing will be wrong. And the instructions aren't very good, and like I said, there's no locator pins for this. So it's just best to move this exhaust pipe all the way up to the exhaust manifold, up to this line, which you can see. Right here. And I've done some painting. I've tried to make it look a little bit more like an actual engine. I looked at a bunch of extra pictures online, and even though red boots are included with these, I thought about going with black boots, but I went ahead and went with the red boots that came with it. It did come with red wire. I did go with black wire. And the hoses on here are pretty good shape. See if I can show you the, here's the distributor. The oil filter I mentioned. Here's the air filter. Now this part comes in red, two pieces, and this is in black. But most of the pictures I saw of this device were actually silver. And then of course the starter is black with silver bands. The head is silver, and mostly the block is kind of a flat or matte black, and then the rest of the parts are silver or crankcase color. I can add some weathering and stuff to this, but anyway, I've kind of done these a little different. Some of the pictures show all these all coming up and piling up together at the front of the cylinder head cover and going across, but to me it looked nice and neat, and I made sure and tied them together and tucked them in under this head, just to try to make everything look a little bit more uniform and more realistic. And I might touch this up. I might even paint these boots or something. We'll see. But so far so good. And this is kind of a desert beige color. I've seen it in this color on a lot of the cars that are real live cars, and then painted the bolt heads silver. You'll probably notice that I didn't finish painting the spark plugs white with nuts of silver, but oh well. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But anyway, it's, for the most part, it's a very realistic looking engine, and I could even add some copper here to these, or brass color. But so far, our model for the XKE, the engine, is coming together really nicely. And it showed all the wiring distances and the boots and the, even though, again, like I said, it's in Japanese, but they do give you measurements, and the last number obviously is for the coil wire, even though it's not given out by number, but obviously you have 6 cylinders and the 7th one is for your coil. So, and then the boots are all cut to 8 millimeters and glued to either side of the wires. And of course they glue into the distributor and onto the tops of the spark plugs. Excuse me. So our next step will be to do the differential, and we'll stop with that for right now. Thank you for watching.